Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be taking a closer look at Monica Hill's public announcement video.
Oh, yeah, this one's heavy.
It's definitely a heavy situation, and there's a lot to unpack.
I've only seen snippets, so I'm interested to hear your take on this.
Yeah, well, Monica's married to Bryann Trejo,
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah.
and he's a pretty well-known Christian musician and leader,
Mm-hmm.
and her video is raw,
Oh, yeah.
emotional,
Yeah.
and it paints a drastically different picture of their relationship
Right.
compared to Bryan's very public persona.
Fascinating.
So let's dive into some of Monica's key revelations and try to understand the situation a bit better.
Sounds good.
So, I mean, just watching this video, it's just striking how much pain Monica is in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can just feel it in her voice, how hurt she is.
It's palpable.
Yeah, and she repeatedly calls Bryann a liar,
Mm-hmm.
talks about how he's been deceiving people for years,
Mm.
and some of the phrases she uses like, my heart is so broken and he's built my family on lies. You know, they really give you a sense of the depth of her pain.
Those are really strong statements,
Yeah.
especially from someone who, I think she was raised in the church and she's been a part of this community for so long, so.
Yeah, she's been married to him for, I think, over 15 years.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that's a long time to be with someone.
To carry that hurt.
Yeah.
To keep that bottled up for that long.
And then she goes on to accuse him of infidelity throughout their entire marriage,
Oh, wow.
including a recent affair that she says lasted for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
What's particularly troubling is her suggestion that this behavior was a pattern,
Mm-hmm.
even occurring while she was pregnant.
That's just heartbreaking
It is, yeah.
to hear.
And that's kind of where it starts to feel like something more than just a personal betrayal.
Right.
You know, she talks about him meeting other women while on ministry trips,
Mm-hmm.
which really emphasizes the disconnect between his public persona as this spiritual leader
Right.
and these alleged private actions.
The hypocrisy.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, you know, how someone could live such a double life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what I think is going to be really shocking for a lot of people who have followed his ministry for so long.
Yeah.
You know, you don't expect that from someone who presents themselves in such a, spiritual way.
But Monica's video goes beyond just the allegations of infidelity.
Right.
She paints this picture of Bryann being largely absent from their family life,
Okay.
not praying or reading the Bible with them,
Wow.
not helping with the kids.
Mm.
She felt like she was raising their children alone
Mm-hmm.
while he was out building his empire.
So this idea of like he was, the public face of this perfect Christian family,
Right.
but behind closed doors,
Yeah.
nothing could be further from the truth.
It makes you think about, you know, is this spiritual abuse?
Ooh, that's an interesting take.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
Where, you're using religious beliefs or positions of authority to manipulate and control others.
Right, like that power dynamic is so
Ah.
imbalanced. Yeah. And, you know, if Monica's claims are true, this could be an example of that dynamic playing out within their marriage.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because she describes a dynamic where Bryann was very controlling,
Okay.
especially with their finances,
Mm-hmm.
and that he tried to silence her,
Wow.
putting her down when it came to her own ministry.
Oh my gosh.
This suggests a pattern of emotional manipulation that goes beyond just the infidelity and points toward a deeper issue of power and control within their relationship.
That's so sad to hear.
It is, and it makes you question why she stayed silent for so long.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are going to be asking that question.
Right.
But I think it's important to remember that leaving a relationship, especially when there's a power imbalance
Mhm.
or a fear of public scrutiny.
Especially in a situation like this,
Right.
where your whole life is kind of, you know, in the public eye,
Yeah.
it's often far more complex than it appears from the outside.
I think that's a good point to make.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, people from the outside looking in, they're just like, oh, why didn't you leave sooner?
Right.
But they don't understand the dynamics that are at play.
The manipulation,
Yeah.
the control.
There.
And she talks about feeling manipulated,
Mhm.
constantly questioning herself,
Yeah.
even enduring financial control.
Wow.
And, you know, these are red flags in any relationship.
Absolutely.
And especially concerning given the public image that Bryann projected.
Right. Because it's like this dissonance between what you're seeing publicly
Right.
and what's actually happening behind closed doors.
And it's important to remember that these are just allegations at this point.
Right. Of course.
But Monica's descriptions of feeling trapped and controlled paint a disturbing picture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is where the human element of this story really comes into play.
Right.
We're seeing a woman grappling with a profound sense of betrayal and disillusionment.
Mm-hmm.
And she's chosen a very public platform to share her experience.
And that's a bold move.
It is.
I mean, to put yourself out there like that.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's going to be backlash.
Yeah.
Knowing that people are going to judge you.
And that decision to go public is interesting in itself
Mm-hmm.
because she actually mentions in the video that Bryann essentially dared her
Oh, really?
with the phrase, "He said bump me."
Wow.
It suggests that she felt silenced and controlled for years.
Hmm.
And now she's taking back her voice in a very bold way.
Taking back control.
Yeah. And, it speaks to the power of feeling like you have no other option,
Right.
especially when someone's public persona is so carefully curated.
Yeah.
By going public, Monica's challenging that carefully constructed image.
Forcing people to kind of see behind the curtain a little bit.
Yeah, and forcing people to confront a potentially different reality.
Yeah.
But it's a risky move.
Absolutely.
And you have to wonder what impact this will have on Bryann, his ministry,
Right.
their children.
Yeah.
It's clear that Monica felt like this was her only option. But it also raises questions about the ripple effects of such a public revelation.
Yeah, like how far does this go?
And we've seen how allegations of hypocrisy can lead to the downfall of public figures,
Oh, yeah.
especially within religious communities.
Absolutely.
This situation has the potential to shake the foundations of Bryann's entire ministry and leave his followers questioning everything they thought they knew about him.
Their whole world is going to be rocked.
Yeah, and that leads us to the bigger question.
Mm-hmm.
How common are situations like this?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm
Yeah.
curious to get into that.
Do we often put public figures, especially in religious contexts, on pedestals
Mm-hmm.
without truly knowing who they are?
Right. Just buying into the persona.
Yeah, it's a question worth exploring further.
Absolutely. It's like this situation really forces us to confront our own beliefs about the people we admire.
Right.
Do we really know them, or are we just buying into a carefully crafted persona?
And how many people are living similar double lives,
Mm-hmm.
struggling with the pressure to maintain a certain image while battling personal demons behind the scenes?
Yeah. That's a sobering thought.
Yeah, it really is.
And it makes you wonder what was going on behind the scenes?
Well, Monica explicitly mentions that others in Bryann's ministry were unaware of his alleged infidelity.
So they were completely in the dark.
Yeah, and she seems to be implying that they too were deceived by his public persona.
Wow. So this goes even deeper than we initially thought.
Yeah, I mean, it adds a whole new layer of complexity to the situation.
Absolutely.
Because it suggests that this wasn't just a personal failing on Bryann's part,
Right.
but potentially a systemic issue within the ministry itself.
Mm.
Could there be a culture of secrecy
Ooh, interesting.
or a reluctance to address problematic behavior in order to protect the reputation of the organization?
So it's like this idea that the institution itself is protecting its image
Right.
at the expense of the individuals involved.
And that raises questions about the level of accountability within such organizations.
Mm-hmm.
If Monica's claims are true,
Right?
it suggests that there might be a system in place
Yeah.
that enables or even protects individuals who engage in harmful behavior.
And that's a really dangerous situation.
So then what are the potential consequences for Bryann and his ministry?
I mean, we've seen in other cases
Yeah.
where allegations of hypocrisy can lead to the downfall of prominent religious figures.
Yeah, look at what happened with
Right. Exactly.
It can happen.
And the trust they built with their followers can erode quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And the impact on the organization can be devastating.
Especially in this digital age where
Yeah.
information spreads rapidly.
It just explodes.
Right. And the
That's-
fallout could be swift and far-reaching.
Bryan's followers will likely be grappling with feelings of betrayal and disillusionment.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And his ministry could face a significant loss of support and credibility.
And probably financial support as well.
Oh, absolutely. Which is, something that a lot of these ministries rely on.
And it's worth noting that Monica specifically says that Bryann tried to control her financially
Mm-hmm.
and even attempted to sabotage her own ministry.
Wow.
That suggests a level of manipulation and control that extends beyond their personal relationship
Yeah.
and raises concerns about the potential for abuse of power within a religious context.
Yeah, because it's not just a husband and wife.
Right.
It's a leader.
It's a leader in a position of authority.
Right. And that raises a whole other set of ethical concerns.
And this is where I think it's crucial to examine those power dynamics,
So
not just
what-
within marriages, but also within religious institutions.
Yeah, because if someone in a position of authority is using their influence to control and silence others, that's a serious red flag.
It's a reminder that even within communities that espouse values of love and compassion,
Hmm.
there can be individuals who exploit their positions for personal gain or to cover up harmful behavior.
Mm.
And that's why it's so important for individuals to speak out and hold those in power accountable.
Monica's decision to go public was undoubtedly risky,
Oh, yeah?
and she's likely to face criticism from some quarters.
Yeah, she's already getting a lot of hate online.
Right.
But her actions could also empower others who have experienced similar situations to come forward and break the silence.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It could be like a catalyst for change.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we can't always take things at face value, especially when it comes to public figures.
Right.
We need to be critical thinkers, question assumptions, and be willing to have difficult conversations even when they challenge our beliefs or make us uncomfortable.
Absolutely. I mean, blind faith is dangerous.
It is, yeah.
You know, we need to question everything.
The consequences of Monica's actions remain to be seen,
Hmm.
but her bravery in speaking out could have a ripple effect, prompting others to examine their own experiences and potentially leading to greater transparency and accountability within religious institutions.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it's a reminder that change often comes from individuals who are willing to risk everything to speak truth to power.
And it's not easy.
No, it's
Oh,
not.
it's so important.
And while the path ahead for Monica and everyone involved is uncertain,
Right.
her story has already sparked a conversation that could have a lasting impact.
And that's what matters. And, you know, this whole thing,
Oh,
it
yeah.
really brings up this question of, you know, what it even means to be a good person,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you bring religious beliefs into it.
Right, because we so often associate faith with morality.
Exactly.
But, Monica's story suggests that things aren't always so black and white.
Oh, absolutely not.
There's a lot of gray area.
Yeah. I mean, people are complex, you know,
Right.
and faith, while important to many people,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't automatically erase those human flaws
Right.
or prevent people from doing harmful things.
And it's interesting because Monica talks about leaving Bryann multiple times,
Oh, really?
but always going back. And it makes you think about the emotional push and pull in these situations.
Yeah.
You want to believe the best in someone you love,
Mm.
but sometimes the reality is just harder to accept.
Especially when you've built a life together.
Right. And, there's often a strong desire to preserve the family unit,
Yeah,
especially when children are involved.
of course.
And within religious communities, there can be immense pressure to stay in a marriage,
Oh, absolutely.
even when it's unhealthy,
Right.
even when it's abusive.
Because divorce is so stigmatized.
Right. It's like you're failing
Yeah.
in the eyes of God, in the eyes of your community.
In your family.
And for Monica leaving wouldn't just be about ending a marriage.
Right.
It would also mean publicly challenging this prominent figure in her community.
And potentially losing everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's a daunting prospect,
It is.
especially when you consider the potential backlash and judgment she could face.
You know, it's interesting, though, because she talks about how she felt like she had to protect his image for the sake of her family.
For the sake of her kids.
Right.
Yeah. And so her decision to stay silent for so long,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is understandable given those factors.
Oh, yeah.
It speaks to the complexity of leaving an abusive relationship,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially when you have those layers of social and religious pressure involved.
And I think it's important to acknowledge the courage it takes for someone in her position to finally break free from that silence.
Yeah.
Because speaking out, even when it's risky, can be such a powerful step
Right.
towards reclaiming your agency, starting that healing process.
So now that she's gone public, the question is, what happens next?
What are the consequences going to be?
Yeah. What are the potential consequences for Bryann, his ministry, and everyone involved?
Oh, man, that's a tough question.
It is.
Because it's hard to say for sure,
Right.
but I think it's safe to say that Bryann is going to face some intense scrutiny
Oh, yeah.
from the public and from his followers.
And his ministry could experience a decline in support.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And there could be calls for him to step down from his leadership position.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, we've seen it before,
Oh, yeah. Countless times.
where allegations like this
Mm-hmm.
have led to the downfall of public figures.
Especially in religious communities.
Yeah. And the damage to their reputation and the trust that they built,
It can be irreparable.
it can be. Yeah.
It's a reminder that public image
Mm-hmm.
is a very fragile thing.
Especially for those in a position like his.
Yeah. I mean, when your whole authority is based on your perceived moral standing,
Right.
it's easy to lose that trust.
And in the age of social media where information spreads like wildfire
Oh, yeah.
and public opinion can shift so quickly,
It's crazy.
the fallout from these types of allegations can be swift and devastating.
It can be, yeah.
So what about Monica?
What happens to her?
Yeah, I mean, she's taken a huge risk by speaking out.
Huge.
What do you think lies ahead for her?
Well, I think she's likely to face a mixed bag of responses. Some people are going to applaud her bravery for coming forward.
Right. They're going to see her as, this truth teller, this, person who's standing up for what's right.
But then you're going to have other people who criticize her for airing her dirty laundry in public.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it goes sometimes.
But she's in control of her narrative now.
That's true.
And that's a huge step towards healing and moving forward.
It is, yeah.
It's a reminder that, there's often a price to pay for speaking truth to power, especially when it challenges those deeply held beliefs or disrupts the status quo.
And it's not easy,
No, it's not.
but it's necessary sometimes.
It is, and it's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit
Absolutely.
and the power of finding your voice.
I think Monica's story really highlights the importance of questioning those in positions of authority, regardless of their religious affiliation or their public persona.
You can't just take their word for it.
Right. Everyone is capable of wrongdoing.
And we should never blindly accept someone's word simply because of their status or perceived piety.
It's a call for greater transparency and accountability,
Within all institutions.
but especially those that hold so much influence over people's lives.
Yeah, like religious institutions.
Right, exactly.
Because silence can perpetuate harm.
It can, yeah.
And speaking out, even when it's difficult, can be a catalyst for positive change.
We may never know the full truth of what happened between Monica and Bryann,
Right.
but I think their story has already sparked a really important conversation
Yeah.
that could have far-reaching implications.
It's forcing us to confront these uncomfortable truths about hypocrisy, power dynamics, and the complexities of human relationships.
Especially within the context of religious belief.
Yeah. And it's left us with a lot to think about.
Oh, yeah.
How do we reconcile faith
Right.
with the reality that people, even those in positions of spiritual leadership, are capable of great harm?
Yeah, how do we create communities
Yeah.
that are truly safe and supportive for everyone?
Regardless of their struggles or experiences.
That's the question.
It is a big question.
It is.
And this deep dive has taken us through a lot.
It has.
Allegations of infidelity, abuse of power, the shattering of a public image. But at its core, this is a story about human nature.
Yeah.
The masks that we wear
Yeah.
and the courage it takes to break free from silence.
And as much as we've talked about, the negative aspects of this, I think there's also a lot of hope in this story.
There is, yeah.
I mean, Monica's willingness to speak out is inspiring,
It is.
and it could really lead to some positive change.
And while Monica and Bryan's story is still unfolding,
Right.
I think we can all learn from their experience
Yeah.
and use it as an opportunity for reflection and growth.
Absolutely.
We can challenge our own assumptions, engage in those difficult conversations, and work towards creating a more just and equitable world.
That's what it's all about.
This deep dive has been a journey into the complexities of relationships, faith, and public perception. And it's left us with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
But that's often the case when we delve into the messy realities of human experience.
That's life.
It is.
It's messy.
And as we continue to process this story and its implications, we hope it will inspire you to ask your own questions, challenge the status quo, and engage in those meaningful conversations that can lead to positive change.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been real.